Have you ever stayed in a hotel that felt off? Like the silence was a little too loud, or the shadows played tricks on your eyes? Well, in Kyoto, Japan, there's a hotel that takes this feeling to a whole new level. A place where every single night, without fail, the staff covers every mirror in the building. Why? They're trying to protect their guests from a room that should have been sealed off long ago. They call it the room with no reflections. The legend, as it's whispered among the staff and the few guests who know, began with a weary business traveler. Let's call him Kenji. After a long flight and a longer train ride, he was just happy to get his key card and head up to his room. Room 304. He dropped his bags, took off his shoes, and let out a sigh of relief. The room was perfectly ordinary. A neatly made bed, a small desk by the window overlooking a quiet garden, and a clean, minimalist design. It was exactly what he needed, a peaceful space to unwind before his meetings the next day. Feeling grimy from his journey, Kenji headed to the bathroom to splash some water on his face. He reached for the faucet, looked up, and froze. The wall where a mirror should have been was just blank. A smooth, painted surface. No reflection, no frame, nothing. It was bizarre. How could a modern hotel room not have a mirror in the bathroom? He ran his hand over the wall, half expecting to feel a hidden seam or a cover, but it was just solid and cool to the touch. Annoyed and a little confused, he picked up the hotel phone and dialed the front desk. A calm, polite voice answered. "Good evening. How may I help you?" Kenji explained the situation. "Hello. Yes, I'm in room 304. It seems you've forgotten to install a mirror in my bathroom." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line, just long enough to be unsettling. Then the clerk replied, his voice still perfectly even. "I apologize for the inconvenience, sir. That room does not have mirrors after sunset. It is for your own safety." Kenji waited for him to continue, maybe offer an explanation or a room change, but there was only silence. "For my safety? What does that even mean?" Kenji asked, his patience wearing thin. The clerk's voice dropped a little, becoming more of a warning than a pleasantry. "Sir, please, just enjoy your stay. Whatever you do, do not bring a mirror into the room." Before Kenji could argue, the line went dead. He stared at the receiver, baffled. What kind of ridiculous hotel policy was this? It had to be some kind of prank, or maybe a local superstition they catered to. He scoffed. He wasn't a superstitious person. He needed to shave, and he wasn't about to do it blind. This is where Kenji made his first mistake, the one that sealed his fate. He remembered the small, foldable travel mirror he kept in his toiletry bag. A little silver-cased mirror, no bigger than his palm. He thought, what harm could it possibly do? He dug it out of his bag, clicked it open, and propped it up on the bathroom counter. A small act of defiance. He leaned in, ready to see his own tired face. But what he saw instead made his blood run cold. The mirror didn't reflect him. It didn't reflect the bathroom. It didn't reflect anything in room 304. It showed a completely different place. Through the small glass, he saw a long, dark hallway, its walls slick with moisture. The air in the reflection seemed thick, and the only light came from a single, flickering bulb far in the distance. And then he saw the water. Black, oily water was slowly seeping in from the edges of the hallway, pooling on the floor and rising steadily. It was like looking through a window into a flooding, abandoned corridor. He stumbled back, his heart pounding in his chest. This wasn't a trick of the light. This was impossible. As he stared, paralyzed, a sound echoed from the tiny mirror. A soft, distinct sound. Asterisk, tap, tap, tap. Asterisk, it was a knock. And it wasn't coming from his hotel hallway. It was coming from inside the mirror. From the other side of that terrifying, waterlogged passage, the sound was quiet, but it seemed to drill directly into his mind. Someone or something was in that hallway, and it knew he was watching. Panic finally broke through his shock. Kenji's hand trembled as he swatted at the mirror, sending it clattering to the tiled floor. It landed face down. He didn't dare to pick it up. He backed away, his eyes fixed on the blank wall where the main mirror should have been. He just wanted to get out. Get out of the bathroom. Get out of the room. Get out of the hotel. But as he looked up, his breath hitched in his throat. The wall was no longer blank. A full-length, ornate mirror now stood against the wall. It hadn't been there a second ago. He swore it. It was framed in dark carved wood, and its glass was so clear it seemed to pull the light from the room into it. And in its reflection, he saw himself. Or almost himself. He was standing there, frozen in terror. But the reflection was perfectly calm. As Kenji watched, his mouth agape, his reflection slowly, deliberately, tilted its head to the side. And then it smiled. A wide, unnatural smile that didn't reach its eyes. Its eyes were cold, empty voids. A primal scream built in Kenji's throat, but it wouldn't come out. We turned and scrambled for the bathroom door, fumbling with the handle. Wouldn't turn, it was locked. He rattled it, then threw his shoulder against it, but it wouldn't budge. The lights in the bathroom began to flicker violently, plunging the room into strobing bursts of light and shadow. In one flash, the reflection was still in the mirror. In the next, it had one foot on the bathroom floor. In the darkness, he heard the sickening squelch of a wet shoe stepping out of the glass. The reflection was coming out. He hammered on the door, shouting for help, his voice cracking with sheer terror. The flickering stopped, leaving the room in dim, steady light. He spun around. The thing that looked like him stood in the middle of the bathroom, dripping black water onto the floor. It was still smiling, that terrible, predatory smile. It took another slow, deliberate step towards him. It had been waiting for someone to open a window into its world. And Kenji had just handed it the key. That was the last thing he ever saw. The next morning, housekeeping came to clean room 304. They knocked, but there was no answer. Using their master key, they opened the door to a perfectly tidy room. The bed was still made. The luggage was gone. There was no sign that anyone had ever been there. Except for one thing. On the bathroom floor lay a small, cracked travel mirror, face up. When the staff looked into it, they didn't see their own reflection. They just saw the blank, white ceiling of the bathroom, as if the person holding the mirror had simply vanished. Since that day, the hotel has kept room 304 permanently sealed. They built a new wall over the door, hiding it from view. But some things can't be contained so easily. Guests on the third floor sometimes report hearing faint knocking sounds at night, seeming to come from inside the walls. The staff continues their ritual of covering every mirror after dark, hoping to prevent the entity from finding another way out. So, if you ever find yourself in a hotel in Kyoto, and you notice the mirrors are all shrouded in cloth as the sun goes down, don't get curious. Don't question it. And if, by some terrible chance, you find yourself in a room where a mirror is left uncovered, do yourself a favor. Avert your eyes, leave the room, and don't look back. Because you never know what might be looking back at you, just waiting for an invitation to step through. Thanks for joining me on this dive into the dark and mysterious. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales that will keep you up at night. Until next time, stay safe and maybe avoid your reflection for a while.